Welcome back to the Clean Classics EV conversion checklist, part 5. This time we're having a look at ancillaries and the originality of the vehicle. So there's a load of ancillaries in the vehicle that you might not consider when either having a vehicle converted or doing your own conversion, that are actually being powered by the original internal combustion engine. Things like the cabin heater takes the excess heat from the engine and passes it through a heat exchanger, so that will no longer be present. There's the brake boosters that all run off the vacuum pulled by the engine. And there's other things like power steering and all sorts of other additional parts that use the power and energy from the original internal combustion engine, that by removing that, you then have to rethink how they're all going to work. In terms of cabin heating, it's pretty straightforward. We've looked at all sorts of options in how we do our conversions, but really the good old PTC heater, where you add current and it puts out heat, works really well. So it's about integrating that with the original ventilation system of the car. And then there's the brake boosters. Simply, you can get an electric powered vacuum pump that will pull the vacuum that used to be supplied by the engine to give you that enhanced braking performance. Likewise, power steering is going to require its own individual pump. Sometimes you can have a pump that powers a hydraulic system. Other times you can have specific electric power steering systems that you can fit. Then we come on to the originality of the vehicle, and there's sort of two overall aspects of this. One is actually compliance and making sure that your vehicle is going to be legal on the road once you're finished. The DVLA are becoming more and more hot on EV conversions, and it's a little bit hit and miss as to what they're happy with and what they're not happy with. Our standpoint is always keep everything as original as possible. They definitely don't like holes cut in chassis, any grinding or welding that's happened on the structure of the vehicle isn't likely to go unnoticed if the DVLA do come out and check. The actual process of getting your vehicle on the road is very straightforward, but the DVLA are choosing to come and inspect vehicles more and more frequently, and it's in that instance that you want to make sure you've got it right, because they've got the power to go, that's not allowed on the roads, you're going to have to go and IVA test it, or whatever process they're going to get you to do, or change it, or you kind of don't want to find yourself in that scenario. Then there's MOT requirements. So obviously historic vehicles, most of the time you don't actually have to get an MOT for them. That changes when you start modifying it, and there are some fairly clear rules that you can look up. But effectively what we've done in our system, we consider to be substantially modified, and therefore our stance on it is that you need to have a yearly MOT on that vehicle. We really don't see it as a big drawback. You know, it's going on the road. Why not get it signed off so that it's legally allowed on the road? It's not expensive or time consuming, and there's no point in being on the grey side of the regulations there. There's then the feel in terms of inside the cockpit and generally how you use the vehicle. You could slap a load of brand new dials in it, or you could keep the original dials. At Clean Classics, we much prefer the original look in terms of in the cockpit. We reanimate the dials, reutilise what's already there as opposed to putting shiny new dials in. But this is, again, there's a sort of personal preference and choice there, and it's something just to think about. You know, it's not necessarily a given. Some people are always going to slap brand new ones in because it's a bit easier. And it all comes down to personal preference really as to what you want in your cockpit and around your car, whether you want that classic feel or whether you want it to feel a little bit more modern, in aligning with the modern powertrain. As for the Clean Classics Land Rovers, our policy is to say if the vehicle had it, then we will put it back if it needs electrifying. Mostly it's just cabin heating that we need to do, which we do with a PTC heater. Occasionally there's one that's been spec'd with a brake vacuum. The sort of Series 3s quite often have them, in which case we'll add a vacuum pump to re-enable that brake boosting. And actually the car behind me has electric power steering fitted. It came to us like that, but it's something that we are going to fit to some future builds that we're doing. In terms of the sort of compliance and chassis integrity and things like that, we have no need to cut or weld the original material of the car at all. We keep it untouched. Our whole system is bolt in, bolt out. Therefore, there is no question in terms of getting pinged up on unsafe modifications. We keep it straight down the line. It just bolts in. And then there's the dials. We just keep the original dials. Some of these old Land Rovers have so much character and patina that swapping things out like that just is quite often unsuitable, because they've just got decades and decades worth of use there right in front of you. So what we do is we actually rewire behind the dash and reanimate all the dials to give you all the driver information that you'd need, but without changing anything in terms of what's in front of you. The only small change that we do is we add a small keypad for our vehicle controls that gives you drive and reverse and charge controls and things like that. And we've also removed a lot of the gear levers. There was a lot of to and fro on this one, because the levers in a Land Rover are quite iconic, but they're also really in the way of the third seat in the middle. So there's good reason to keep them and there's good reason to get rid of them. We've ended up settling on getting rid of all of them except the yellow knob, which is now activating the diff lock. Thanks for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this 5-part series. Head over to our website and join our mailing list, and we'll send you a PDF version of the EV conversion checklist so that you can plan your EV build. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe.